Hello there, folks. Welcome back. You are watching the United Kingdom Speedrunner Gathering Winter 2022. My name is TinyTim78, and I am delighted to be the host for this fantastic run. You have Set Willy by DigitalDuck. Remember that we are raising money for Crisis. All your donations go towards that amazing cause. So please get your donations in. Without further ado, I'm handing it over to DigitalDuck. Good luck.
Thank you very much, Tim. I'm DigitalDuck. I'm joined by Ruffled Bricks.
Hello, I'm mainly going to be talking about how this game isn't as good as Pajama Armor, so enjoy that.
Okay, and we're going to be seeing how this game is much better than Pajama Armor. So. I'm just going to kick it straight off, and then we'll get into talking about it. So let's start in 3, 2, 1, go. Go. There we go. This is Set Willy. It's released in 1984 for the ZX Spectrum, exactly the same as Pajama-Rama. The story behind this game is that miner Willy here, who has just come back from a very successful mining trip, and you'll play Manic Miner to find out how that went. He's made lots of money, he's bought a mansion, he's thrown a massive party, he's left the house in an absolute state, and woken up hungover in the bathtub. And he wants to go to bed, but Maria, his housekeeper, who's right here, won't let him unless he cleans up the house first. So we have to go through the entire house, pick up all of the scattered items, and then we can go to bed.
Maria is my hero.
Maria is my spirit animal. Yeah.
So should we talk about the bug fix aspect of this? Because we're about to see the first bug fix here now in the form of this. Sorry, you go ahead, Doc.
The item we just picked up is not in the original game. So we're playing a bug fix version which fixes a number of issues with the original game. That room, in the very first release of the game, that room did have an invisible item that was way too far out of reach, and that was one of the things that actually meant the game was uncompletable. They did release a patch to move it to the hall, but it was still invisible. And in this version, they've put it into a more sensible place and given it a graphic.
Yeah.
And that's one of the many bug fixes you'll see as we play this game.
Yeah, the software project pokes that were released for this game originally were quite perfunctory in nature, because they were just sort of like, let's just make it possible to complete the game rather than trying to preserve any internal logic. And an example of that is Duck's just gone through the top of the hall here, and the item that Duck was talking about, that cross that you saw in the first landing, was placed there on the top right section of it, but it was still invisible, basically. Fortunately, it was pretty much impossible to miss that item because it was placed in such a position where you'd walk through it anyway when going to the front door. But yeah, there's going to be a few other more aesthetically pleasing fixes coming up in this as Duck goes into the first section of the run. Now, something to note about this run is for this 2015 bug fix edition, the route that Duck is going to be taking is different to the any % route that we would take in the normal version of the game. So this is an open world game, and because of that, you can actually go around the mansion, generally in whichever order you see fit, with some limitations. But this east wall section that Duck is climbing up here is actually towards the end of the any % run on the normal version of the game. Here we're actually bringing it forward to the beginning, and you'll see why in a little bit. Duck's there just climbing up the priest's hole there, which is one of the more notorious levels in the game, and I can see he's just taken a death there, which is slightly unfortunate because, as you can see, the cycle on this demon head here is a little on the slow side. So going up there again, and also a lot of these jumps here are pixel perfect. They're what we actually refer to as edge jumps, because you have to go right onto the edge of the platform, the last pixel, in order to be able to actually make the jump back and forth. Now this,
they are frame perfect, but luckily this game runs at a fairly slow frame rate, so it's not as big of an issue as it would be for a faster game.
Yeah, absolutely. So this is the attic section of the mansion, and this pink being that you can see here is actually an elephant. That's why Dr. Jones will never believe this, because Willy actually has an elephant in his attic. reasons that are probably best left secretive. And here is, speaking of the attic, this attic here, this room, was the main source of a lot of the problems with the original game in terms of the bugs. When you went into that room, there was an arrow that went through it that was actually misplaced in the code originally. So it actually went through the code, and that causes big problems with some of the rooms coming up if you go through that room. Like it involve actually some rooms you actually enter and you just instantly die as a result. So that was one where the software projects poked once again fixed that latterly.
Yeah, the software project pokes were the very original release of this game was impossible to complete. And basically, it was a patch that was originally released as a type-in, so you'd actually have to physically type it into the computer before you load the game to apply the patch. And as a result, they basically made it so you did the minimum amount of work, the fewest number of bytes needed to change to make it completable. So as a result, all of the changes are essentially just one tiny thing changed to make it so that it technically works.
Yes. Now, here's another room that has been changed in the Bugfix edition ever so slightly. This watchtower here, the platform at the top, that conveyor belt you see there, has actually been lowered slightly from where it was in the original game. In the original, you could actually jump into the ceiling off that conveyor belt and it would warp you into the off license. Now, bearing in mind this is the top of the map here, the off license is in the bottom right of the map. And it was interpreted as an unintentional warp by the developer who made this mod. So because of that, it's just been changed so that you cannot do that. And here's another instance of that being done. So Rescue Esmeralda, you look at the top right there, there is a ceiling that's been placed there. That is not in the original either. In that, you can actually jump through the ceiling and it will warp you to the bottom of Ballroom East. And that is a warp that we do actually use in the any % run on the normal version of the game. But because that has been taken away from us, Duck is now going to have to go all the way around the attic section twice in order to be able to get to the next part of the map. That emergency generator room, by the way, is a nice bit of trivia for Pink Floyd fans there. You may recognise that as being the cover of their album Animals with Batsy Power Station and the Floating Pig. And a lot of that top section of the map were references to old Spectrum games as well. The battlements that Duck went over was reference to Hunchback, including Rescue Esmeralda. And this bit at the top here under the roof, and the room above it, Nomen Looney, that is a reference to Zoom, spelt with 2 Z's, which is an old game about planes. Basically, Willy has a plane crashed into the top of his mansion.
Yeah, the game was made by Imagine. It was a way too early jump there. The game was made by Imagine, whose slogan was name of the game, which in Latin is Nomen Ludi. And so the room name is a pun on that as well.
Yes, absolutely. Now, in this run, something to note about the lives in this. You get 8 lives throughout this run. And in a normal version of this run, if we were able to just practice this over and over again, on the comfort of our own streams, then Duck would be using a little tool called Death Warps, whereby we'd actually use the fact that some of the rooms are dead ends to just take a death deliberately and warp ourselves back to the beginning of the room just to get a quicker exit out of it. However, this game is a particularly tough one. And to make this a little bit more marathon safe, Duck is going to be preserving his lives as much as he can in order to just ensure we can get around the mansion relatively safely. Although there is one death warp that I'm pretty sure Duck will be doing not too far away, but we'll go to that when we get there.
Yeah, it's definitely a much... Okay. I can't talk and play at the same time, because every time I do, I kill myself.
Do you want me to just waffle for a bit?
No, it's all right. I was just going to say, so if I get near the end and I'm still got a surplus of lives, I might start doing a few extra death warps for fun.
Okay.
But chances are I'll be quite limited on life count.
Yeah, sure. So this cold store here has a nice little route, which we don't do in the normal any %, but we're doing it here. You can actually climb up the rope in it into the bottom of the swimming pool where there is a monk just chilling out. And then the banyan tree, which is a notorious room for a few reasons. The first thing to note about this is that Duck actually found a way that you can get across this room from left to right, which I don't think is a particularly well-known route, but it helps a lot in this route because it enables us to just route this whole central section a little bit more efficiently than we would do otherwise. Second thing to note about the banyan tree is it's another place that was a recipient of a patch, although that one very much mirrors the software projects poke that was released originally. There was a fire cell, or no, solid cell, sorry, that stopped you from being able to climb the banyan tree. And the the conservatory roof here, sorry, my bad, is another place that has been changed as well. In the original, there was an item that you could not collect without dying because there was a fire cell there that would kill you when you jumped into it. Here, the whole structure, the whole layout of those items and fire cells has been reorganized in order to ensure that that is not a problem. You also had to lose a life deliberately in order to collect the one of the items in the original version, which you no longer have to do. And the swimming pool has, you can see that had an item on the left-hand side of it, which looks a little bit like a ladder into the pool. That item was in the original version of the game, but due to the way in which items work, there was a rope, as you see, there was a rope in that room as well, and items were collected by anything white, hence why Willy can collect the items. And because the rope was white, it actually collected the item on your behalf the moment you entered the room. So there was basically all you needed to do was into the swimming pool and you'd be able to get that item. Now, in the beach there, you'll notice there was two items. Duck has grabbed one of them already, the one on the left. That item on the left actually isn't there in the original game. What happened was there are two sandwiches in the beach, and they're both placed in exactly the same position on the original. So when you grab the sandwich there, you actually grab two items on the original version rather than one. The developer who made this basically reasoned that you have that bit of water there that leads you down to the bottom of the yacht. It's not really used in the game normally, so the item was probably meant to go there. So
yeah, that sounds like a fair assumption,
yeah,
because
so.
like
Duck,
there'd be no reason to drop down there otherwise.
Yeah, exactly. Duck just did one of the most annoying jumps in the game as well, by the way. That slope in the yacht has a 2-pixel range for you to be able to jump over the hydrant safely. And it's really annoying because there's not any real good visual cues in order to be able to measure that. Now, here's the aforementioned death warp there. Tool shed, that item there, if you just drop straight onto it, that saves you a good 20 seconds in that room, possibly more, depending on how you do the room.
Yeah, it's easily the best death warp in the game.
Yeah, like, by far. We measured them all.
By far.
We went through the timings of all the death warps at one point, and Tool Shed came out on top very easily. So now Duck is going through.
It doesn't matter even which order you do the deaths in, because there is a part of this game where if you have fewer lives, the game actually runs faster. So in runs we usually try to get all our death warps out of the way early on, and it doesn't matter when you do it. Tool Shed is still always the best death warp, even with the life loss speed up.
Yeah, absolutely. Now we're in a particularly difficult part of the run here, the underground gauntlet, as I like to call it. So the wine cellar is the longest room in the game, and Willy there grabbing all the wines, and then it's followed by an even rougher room in the form of the Forgotten Abbey, who contains our favourite groups of monks here. You've got the White Stripes in the middle, you've got Lemon and Lime at the top, and you've got the Teletubbies at the bottom. The top section of this room is not too difficult. Like, timing the conveyor belt isn't that bad. However, getting past the Teletubbies at the bottom is an absolute nightmare, because if you look at their cycles, they're running back and forth, and they're all slightly off from each other. So trying to get the right timing to get past these is a mammoth ordeal. And Duck has actually done a pretty good job of it from what I'm seeing. I'm a little behind on the stream, but as you can see, he's doing the run back and forth method, where you just sort of find your little cozy nook there between the monks, and then you just jump when you're ready.
Yeah, you cannot wing that room. You have to have a strategy and follow it.
Absolutely. And then security guard there was a little pit there that Duck jumped over, and wisely so. It leads you to the entrance to Hades, which has no utility in it other than an instant game over opportunity. And now Duck is coming into the tree route here. And this is also leading into... this is the last section of the underground gauntlet here, but it's leading to probably one of the worst rooms in the game, or at least one of my least favourite. I don't know how Duck feels about it.
It's not great.
Yes. So under the drive, which we've just been in the bottom section of, is not too bad down there, but this conveyor belt here is horrible because you have this jump to get to the end of this and land on the edge of the platform is literally pixel perfect. There is no other way of being able to get past this bit, so you have to just go through that bit and get the jump right. Otherwise, that's it. You cannot complete the run.
I think it's the only part in the game where a pixel perfect jump is actually required.
Yes.
Like for all the others, we do pixel perfect jumps because they're faster. They save like some platforming, but for that one, that's literally the only way you can do that room.
Yeah, and it's on a conveyor belt as well, so it's not just pixel perfect; it's frame perfect as well. So that is a real rough room. But Duck is now in a slightly more chill section of the run here. So we're heading to the aforementioned off license. Off license being the room that has the most items in the game, has 12 of them up there, and there's a radar furiously checking Willy for ID. These items you can only really get in 2 cycles minimum because of the way that they're sort of spaced out. And sometimes you can do a death warp here as well.
Not like that.
Yes, slightly premature. So we could still have 1 item that we need to collect there, but that's not too much of a problem.
I'll do the actual death warp as well since I'm...
Oh, really?
There we go.
Okay. All right, here we go. Duck in Daredevil mode yet again.
It's fine. I just wanted to be out of that room after I've died there once.
Those who don't know, Duck very much has form for completing a lot of runs that he does in these marathons with 1 life left, and I can see he is once again unfazed by that prospect here. Do note that
I'm not doing any more.
Okay,
don't worry.
No, do note that when Duck, you notice there's 1 life showing in the bottom corner, but that is fine. We still have a life after that. But then once there's no more Willy showing in the bottom left-hand corner, then then you have to play it very carefully. So here's under the mega tree. So this is another climbing section of the run. I don't think we mentioned this during the East Wall base section, but basically there's several parts of this run where you end up scaling the heights. And because of the way the death mechanics work in this game, when you die, you spawn at the place where you entered the room. You spawn at the place where you entered the room, basically. And the problem is, Willy can die from falling too far. So if Willy falls between floors and dies,
that saw still goes backwards.
Yes. Oh, yes. And
sorry, just wanted to. They didn't fix that one.
Yes. There's also a priest in the chapel who walked backwards as well. So there's a couple of sprites in the game where Matthew Smith, it seems, forgot to program the back and forth animations on them properly. But clearly they've not been considered a bug. They've been considered a feature for this. So yeah,
they fit the general weirdness of the game, so it's fine.
Yeah, exactly. I can understand why that priest wouldn't want to turn around.
Well, given the giant head behind it, I wouldn't want to turn around either.
So here we are out on a limb here. And as you can see, we're basically just making our way across this room here using a bunch of leaves. Duck using a little shortcut there that we found, whereby if you position yourself in what we call the full stride position, where Willy's got his legs apart, then you can actually do a special jump there that actually skips out a bunch of those leaves that you're supposed to use on the right-hand side to get up to the top item there. And another shortcut that we found is that from out on a limb, you can actually drop on a branch over the drive, which is directly below it, and you will survive the fall. It's not a shortcut that I think a lot of people who play this game know about, but it does save you a lot of time going all the way around to get back into that.
And it does look like it's definitely intended as well, because like that platform seems to be there specifically to let you do that.
No other reason it could be there. Like, that's not how decor works. In this game. So those of you who are worrying about that last item at the bottom of the mega tree there, and thinking, like, why did Duck miss that one? There it is. He's just got it. And then the drive here. Willy doesn't seem to have a car, but he does have an egg. so he can get around in that, apparently. Though he is pursued by birds as he does so. And the security guard here is a room that looks kind of difficult to do, but actually, as you can see, you can just literally run straight across it. And with some well-timed jumps, you can just get there without having to pause at all. So Duck is now back in the main section. As you see, we've seen all this before. We're now on the bottom section of the ballroom and the hall. And Duck is now heading towards Ballroom West here. You notice there's a bunch of items on the table that are being guarded by a pirouetting rabbit. The table is a conveyor belt, so Duck is having to time the way that he goes across that fairly carefully. And now he's going into the section of the mansion, which we actually do first in the any % run on the normal version of the game. Starting with the To the Kitchen's main stairway, one of the most catchiest named rooms in the game. As you can see, Duck managed a very nice quick jump there between the, what I call the tambourine, but I guess other people have ideas of what that spinning cylinder was. But between that and the radar, that's another one that's literally like, you've got 2 frames to get that right, and Duck absolutely nailed it. And into the kitchen now, which is pretty barren in terms of ingredients, but has a lot of chefs, all of whom are named Andre. And you have to work your way up all these empty shelves here. And there's 2 bits of timing that you want to do in order to try and get this room done as quickly as possible. And they both tend to involve the green chefs, who are the fastest in each section of the kitchen. And Duck managed to get them both, including the back and forth jump on the second green chef there. And we're coming up to, I guess, what in this run would be considered the boss room, which is, of course...
Yeah, and I guess it's a boss room for a lot of people casually as well.
So the nightmare room, in which Willy is turned into his worst nightmare, a flying pig who can't fly, and he's up against various visions of his housekeeper, Maria. And you see, very difficult room that, because you have to do it quickly, you have to do a big jump there across a long stretch past the foot and the red Maria there. And then that position you need to land on in the platform, you need to line it up pixel perfect so that you can actually not get killed by the Marias. And you literally have like less than half a second to get that done. But we're now pretty much at the end.
Yeah, that was the last item to collect. So Maria is now gone from the master bedroom. So all you have to do is touch the bed. And Willy suddenly decides he doesn't want to go to the bedroom, he wants to go to the bathroom. And time is coming up when we touch the toilet.
Yeah, and this is how you all expected it to end. Don't tell me otherwise.
And that's time.
Yeah, you end the game by puking your guts out.
As you do after a hangover.
Yeah, it's a real achievement. GG's Duck.
That was absolutely brilliant.
It was good. Yeah, very nice work, Duck.
Yeah, thanks for watching. I'm going to give a shout out to Ruffled Bricks, who's also probably better at this game than I am, to be quite honest. And also, if you're a fan of these Spectrum games or any others, you should check out the Speedroom Spec Running Discord. You can find it on the game page, the SRC page for this game, or on my Twitch profile. We do all sorts of stuff. So feel free to check it out. We've also got our own marathon coming soon, so if you're interested in that as well. All things Spectrum.
Clive Aid.
Well...
Yeah, other than that...
Yep, carry on.
Thanks. No, that's it, thanks.
Okay, any last words for the Bricks?
Yeah, I want to get in a minute.
Yep.
That's all.
I hope everybody enjoyed that. Thank you so much, DigitalDuck. Absolutely fantastic. Always a pleasure. This game, somebody mentioned it in chat earlier, it is nightmares. To people of a certain age, this game haunted your nightmares as a kid. So thank you so much indeed. That was absolutely brilliant. Okay, we are going to go and take a quick break, but don't go anywhere. We will be back. Bricks will be back with some Worms Armageddon. Which